This week is Thanksgiving holidays, so I'm making this video to thank all the special people throughout my 5+ year YouTube journey. First, I want to thank my wife for fully supporting me to venture into the climbing YouTube space. At that time, no one in their right mind would believe a V4 climber who isn't a native English speaker would be able to have any form of success on YouTube. But somehow my wife believed in me even when my channel looked like it wasn't going anywhere in the first year. Second, I want to thank Peter for accepting my collab request for my first viral 30-day hangboard challenge video. Even though we didn't know each other, and especially when I was a nobody on YouTube at the time. Prior to reaching out to Peter, I actually reached out to a few elite climbers that I thought I were friends with, and got ignored or rejected by all of them. Thanks again, Peter, for taking a risk with me to produce a nearly 5 million viewed video together. I also want to thank Peter for helping me produce a few amazing tutorial videos throughout the years. Third, I want to thank Paul Robinson for reaching out and doing a collab with me. This is extremely significant on so many levels. Even to this day, there are still a lot of mainstream climbing celebrities that refuse to associate their names with me. Obviously, I won't name names here. But this shows how incredible Paul is as a big name willing to reach out to me and risk associating his name with me, especially when I was still relatively small at the time. When I met Paul in person, he was incredibly professional, and I can't find enough words to describe how awesome Paul is. I also want to thank Paul for the collabs we did together throughout the years. Paul, if you happen to be watching this video, you are my favorite pro climber of all time, and this will never change in the future. Fourth, I want to thank Rock Entry for growing together with me throughout my YouTube journey. It is incredible to have Rock Entry as a friend to make YouTube videos together, discuss the strategies of YouTube together, and talk about the ups and downs about YouTube together. The trip I made with Rock Entry to Colorado to collab with Paul Robinson was one of the most memorable trips I ever had. I'm also incredibly impressed with Rock Entry's tenacity of creating content. And I am incredibly proud of him to see one of his videos getting 15 million views earlier this year. This is extremely impressive on so many different levels. I hope to see Rock Entry continue his success on YouTube. Fifth, I want to thank Gary from Fictitious Climbing for the partnership throughout the years. We took a bet on each other around 3.5 years ago. Since when I first started working with Garrett, Fictitious Climbing was still very small. And even to this day, big mainstream rock climbing brands still refuse to work with me. However, Garrett is very passionate about creating better rock climbing training tools. He is very innovative and open to new ideas. He cares about his customers and listens to his customers. As a result, he creates the best climbing training tools out there and his business is thriving. I am incredibly proud of Garrett, and I'm extremely happy to know that I am part of the success. Besides these 5 people, I also want to thank John for the collab. And by the way, congrats on the engagement. I also want to thank UST BJJ for the collab, My First Ascent for the collab, Justin for the collab, and Bouldering Bobats for the collab. And by the way, congrats on the new gym. I also want to thank Coach Eric for the collab and numerous off-camera advice. I also want to thank Jen for the collab, Albert for the collab, and Delaney for the collab. I also want to thank John for the collab and his huge support throughout the years. I also want to thank C4HP for the collab, and Max for the collab. I also want to thank Leland for the collab and keeping my body healthy. I also want to thank Huber Spada for the collab, my brother for the collab, Callie Moo for the collab, Daniel for the collab, and Miles for the collab. I also want to thank Jimny Kids for letting me practice in their facility. I also want to thank Hampton for numerous off-camera advice. And I also want to thank Brandon for numerous off-camera advice. I also want to thank Michael for the collab, Pete for the collab, Steven for the collab, Emily for the collab, and Chris for the collab. I also want to thank Derek for helping me shoot various videos, training with me, and keeping me motivated. Lastly, I want to thank Magnus for the collab, especially as his channel is significantly larger than mine. I try my best to mention and thank everyone involved in my YouTube journey. If I accidentally forgot to mention you, sorry in advance. Lastly, I want to thank all the viewers. Without you, this channel wouldn't be where it is today. I also want to thank everyone who believed in me and bought some 5 bars. Unfortunately, I will be shutting down 5bar permanently, and I deeply apologize to all the supporters for the letdown. I started 5bar with the intention of figuring out how much selling power does someone like me exactly has, since mainstream climbing brands refuse to work with someone like me. The ultimate vision was if I could jumpstart 5bar with climbers and eventually sell to the general public and become a success, I could use the profit to sponsor future non-elite rock climbing creators like myself. So future generations won't have to go through what I thought was unfairness that I went through. However, I hate to admit it, after a year of operating 5bar, mainstream climbing brands' assessment of non-elite rock climbing creators like me is probably right. I don't have that much selling power as I imagined. Maybe things would turn out differently had I not made so many different mistakes. But in any case, at least I tried, so I have no regrets. It's time for me to use the time for 5bar to focus on my son. And I will be excited to see how the future generation will realize this grand vision. Happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays!